And so let's just jump right in. So today, Spark Your Health is joined by postural therapist Joey Zimet for an in-depth discussion on how we move through the world and how we can improve our overall health and wellness by becoming more aware of our very own alignment, our tendencies, our areas of weaknesses and strength. And those areas of weaknesses, of course, we're going to teach you a little bit about how you could start working on those areas because we can always improve. Our format will be a moderated discussion, and then we'll follow with about 15 minutes of Q&A. You can go ahead and put those questions into the chat throughout the entire conversation, and we'll make sure we get to them at the end. So just feel free to, if a question pops into your head as Joey's talking, feel free to just pop that into the chat and we will get to it. We do have a lot of exciting events coming up in Spark Your Health. So we have Spring into Summer Renewal and Intention Setting, which is happening this evening on our rooftop with a mindfulness expert. We're really excited for that program. Please, if you're in the area, we hope that you'll join us for that. And then on Friday, we have another Lunch and Learn on our Parkinson's exercise program with the Parkinson's exercise program at 92NY creators, Corinne Rue and Kareem Collins. So hope you can join us for that as well if that has impacted your life in any way. I would also like to thank our Spark Your Health Talk Series sponsor, Mount Sinai Health System, for their generous support. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring Joey onto the screen with me. Hi there, Joey. And Makala, I'll ask if in the background we do have some support. I'll just ask if we can make sure that the chat is enabled so that everyone can write their questions in. So Joey, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Joey is a postural therapist and has a private practice here in New York City, but we also have the pleasure of Joey working very closely with the 92nd Street Y Spark Your Health community for virtual programming, and then with the Himan Brown senior programming in person. So he's just been an amazing addition and really a staple of the Spark Your Health community. We've really enjoyed working with him. And we know that the community enjoys working with you because they keep coming back for more. And we're going to talk a little bit more about why that is so relevant in this talk. And Joey has a deep passion for helping people eliminate pain and function more optimally. And he holds an advanced master's degree in applied exercise physiology, an MS in education, and a bachelor's in exercise science. And we share that together, Joey. So I'm really excited to dive in. Is there anything you want to tell the audience before we jump into our questions?
Simply that I'm thrilled to be here, and it's been amazing collaborating with you at Spark Your Health and the 92nd Street Y. And one thing I want to say is we're going to have a fun collaborative time. My goal is for you each to leave with a deeper understanding of your body, function, movement, posture to help yourself both immediately, but especially understand your body long term as well. So I'm going to have you feel different things, and hopefully it'll help it make more and more sense to you.
Yes, that's the goal. All right, so let's jump right in. So what I thought we would start with is just sort of discussing the fundamentals and of posture and alignment. So what are the key components of posture and alignment? Before we start diving in, what's sort of the starting point? Where should we be? And what should our guests know? Because I think part of this process is awareness. So first we need to know what to look for.
Okay, absolutely. I love the question. And in order to be able to answer that and create a framework for some of the upcoming questions, I'm going to give a little bit of a more roundabout answer, but with the goal of you guys all taking these insights for long-term stuff. So let's all think about what's a template, or who would be a template for optimal posture, function, and movement. Just take a second to think about an age or a type of person. And for me, it's a toddler, right? I have a 2.5-year-old nephew. The Katera, you have some younger kids as well. And if you think about a child, toddler, how perfectly aligned they're standing from the side, ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle in alignment, nice spinal curves. When they're sitting, also sitting, perfect posture. They're not consciously thinking of, oh, let me tighten my stomach. Let me throw my shoulders back. When they're breathing, the big Buddha belly breath, inhale, stomach expands. Exhale, it goes in. When they're squatting down to pick up a toy, it's like perfect squatting posture. Watch how their movement, bouncy, springy, light, and all that. So now let's contrast that to somebody who might not be a model of optimal posture and function. Let's say somebody who is a little bit elderly, who's been through a lot of injuries, stress through their life. Maybe their posture's kind of tilted forward, and every time they take a step, it's like very short, heavy. So let's contrast a toddler versus somebody who's not optimal posture and function. And the toddler perfect posture and function, how do they get that way? Take it back a step in the womb, right? Baby's curled up in the mom's stomach. It's born. Eventually, soon enough, it's laying on its back. Eventually, it'll turn onto its stomach. What does the kid do? After a few months, it starts to lift its head, develops this nice curve in the back of the neck. Then, with a few months later, it starts pushing on its arms, develops the curve in their lower back. So now we go from that C-shaped curve to a nice S-shaped spinal curve. And what keeps the bones in the right place? It's deeper postural muscles, not necessarily stomach muscles, but muscles even deeper that a kid really strengthens through crawling. Muscles from the deepest muscles in the body supports the arch of the foot, inner lower leg, inner thigh, through the groin, front of the spine, diaphragm, heart, neck, roof of the mouth. And these are the muscles that we really want to strengthen the body from the inside out, allowing those bigger mover muscles that look good on the beach or you're strengthening in the gym to work around a solid platform. So these kids, right? They're squatting, they're lunging, they're swinging, they're playing full range of motion as they get older and older. So now they're really strengthening the body from the inside out. Again, deeper structural muscles stabilizing the bones, letting those bigger mover muscles work around the solid platform. And that's what we want as that model of, okay, this is how the body should ideally function. And then we could get into soon enough why we lose it and some other things like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And that was actually, you read my mind, one of my next questions, which is what does happen over our lifespan that does impact our posture, and how is it important what you teach about awareness? Because we had this conversation in prep a little bit that the more aware somebody is, the more they may be able to sort of start correcting things along the way rather than having this like accumulation to the point where maybe you're not feeling so good. Maybe there's been musculoskeletal impact, impacts to other organs, because there's an overall effect here. So I'd love if you could talk through, what are the variety of things that could happen over the course of one's life, and then what can individuals do to tap into that awareness?
Yeah, I love the question because I've really been helping people focus on that, like in the class that we do together, the 8-week Spark Your Health online program. At the beginning of class, I'm just going to have people march in place, stop, close their eyes, and just really sense into the body and get a sense in terms of, okay, do I have even weight left to right? What's calling out at me? So the more aware, the more we could start tuning into our body, these little nuances, and it takes time to develop. That's how we're going to really be able to sense, okay, what's going on at the moment, and what can we do to then change if we feel any imbalance. So ways that our bodies move out of alignment, compensating from injury, right? Where I'm going to have all of us experience something in a second. Let's say we twist an ankle, right? We're going to shift our body weight over to one side. I'll take you through this in a sec. Or sitting all day. Sitting all day shuts down those deeper structural, those crawling muscles, and our body moves out of the right position. Stress absolutely can do that. Daily patterns where you might be rotating to one side. And in terms of having you experience what moves our body out of position, if you can indulge me, I'll ask you all to stand up, please. And let's say, okay, we twist our right ankle. In order for our tissue to heal, our body's gonna shift our body weight, shift its weight over to the left. So let's all do that. Just shift its weight over to the left a little bit. And just gonna stand here for a moment and notice how one side starts to feel versus the other with a lot of weight on that left side. So over time, what's going to happen is our body might develop an overuse injury on that left side simply from trying to protect that right side. So it's a great temporary mechanism to protect the right side. But over time, we're going to shift our body weight over to the left. So the body then, to prevent an overuse injury like ITB, iliotibial band syndrome, will compensate one of two ways. It's either gonna flex that left knee. So what's that doing? It's pushing strain into the front of the left knee, or we're going to then counterbalance. We're going to shift our body weight over to the right. So it's going to hike the right hip up. It's going to drop the right shoulder. So it's going to look like one shoulder is higher than the other. But what's going on? It's actually the muscles along the side pulling the spine out of alignment. And now the head always wants to be straight. So what's going to happen? The muscles on the side of the neck on the left side are going to overwork. So you're going to have chronic tension on that left side. So now bones are being pulled out of the right position. As that happens, it creates grinding in the joints, compression in the disc. So that's one way. Just I want you guys to all experience to start to feel that over time, and these patterns happen so slowly very often that we're not necessarily recognizing or feeling it at the moment. But over time, it could lead to imbalances. And then those imbalances could lead to misalignment, where those deeper postural muscles are not stabilizing the body. The wrong superficial muscles start to work out of sequence, pulls the bones out of the right position, creates grinding in the joints, compression in the disc. They'll definitely impact the organs, as we'll get into as well. And then you do the wrong movement, and all of a sudden, oh shoot, something gave out that normally shouldn't have. And that's how a lot of pain and injuries develop based upon that.
Thank you so much for walking us through the visual. So, because you mentioned it, if you could go a little bit deeper with what that impact is on the rest of the body, and that could, also involve mental health
Yeah.
and the way that one shows up in the world, lung capacity, we talked a little bit about, I'd imagine maybe some low back pain. So, walk us through what you see as some of, the risk factors that come along with not taking care of your posture.
Yeah, for sure. So what I really try to articulate with those who I help one-on-one and in our group program as well, it's not only changing posture. And when I say posture, okay, great. I love for people to stand up tall, but really posture as a framework to understanding your health, understanding the why behind your pain, injuries, issues, and then the what can you do to reset the body? So another thing we can all experience is, okay, sit in a chair, sit up nice and tall, take a few deep breaths. Just notice the ease, the depth of your breath, how you're feeling. And now what I want you to do is slouch. Maybe tighten your stomach a little bit. Notice your breathing capacity. Notice how you're feeling emotionally here. Anything else? So as we're changing posture, let's say we have that slouch posture, right? We're in that slouch posture, which is definitely can be connected to a startle, a somatic stress response. We're limiting the amount of space for our stomach, our other organs, our breathing capacity. And as we're changing our alignment, we're creating much more natural space for our stomach, for our organs, for our diaphragm to work much more optimally. So fun things like constipation, incontinence, anxiety from not breathing or getting as much oxygen as we often do, as we're changing alignment, doing exercises, even simple like scapular retractions or elbow flexes, changing the position of our arms, upper body, shoulder blade, we're creating much more space for our diaphragm, our stomach, all those organs to function as naturally as they should. And it has an absolute correlation to so many different organ systems, gastrointestinal, emotional, really cardiovascularly, right? If you're here, heart's not able to function as optimally as it should. The more space we could create now, hopefully that will positively impact both the heart rate, the heart pressure, all that, and lung capacity. So for sure, makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. There's so many gems in there
Mhm.
of reasons why one would want to focus on their posture. Now, I know you work with a lot of individuals. Sorry. Do you have any positive stories that you can share that maybe someone has been impacted? I think anyone taking a course with you probably anticipates that they're going to have improved posture and stand taller and
Mm.
maybe feel better, but walk us through some of the positive changes that you've seen that have maybe surprised you or surprised a client.
Yeah, I mean, the way I got into what I do is I hurt my shoulder, tried so many different things, nothing helped long term, and thankfully I met my teacher who was just beyond special insight into the body and mapped certain things out. It's what helped me when nothing else did, and I have the privilege of often doing that for so many people. I think I made a nice difference for so many people. I'll just give one example is a client, terrible hip pain on her right side. And I could see how she was protecting that right side, shifting off to the left. Every time she'd take a step, she was grinding into that right side. From the side, body's kind of here, really like locked, hard lock in the upper back, head forward. But over time, through dedication, through consistency, what we've been doing is we've been creating and ingraining new patterns in the body. So, in order for her hip to be able to finally function better, if we go straight at the hip, what we've learned is it's not going to do too much. It can even backfire. But if we could create a nice lift in the body, reset that position of the body from the side, so aligning ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle, start to stabilize with the deeper postural muscles. Now we've taken strain off of the hip, stabilized with the right muscles. Now we could go after the hip. So what she's able to do compared to a while back with the hip, but also she had shoulder issue and all that. But she's somebody who's amazing. Like literally in between our weekly sessions, I think in 5 years has missed 5 times on her own. It just shows that dedication doing the sequence. But yeah, her body's really gone from here to much more here. When I look at her from the side, she's still a little bit on the left side, as I am as well, but much less than it used to be. She goes for walks every day with her friend, walking fast, going up and down the stairs with no issues. So just things like that, which, okay, you could have like real repatterning, but even sometimes hearing people where they have these aha moments, they'd say, like, Joey, I couldn't walk a block without pain. And all of a sudden, wow, I realized I'm like able to walk 2 blocks. I didn't even realize that until I started doing that. And at 3 blocks. So it's like these little things, these quality of life differences as well. So absolutely, I help a lot of people in severe and especially chronic pain, but also those times where somebody doesn't have such a severe injury, but hey, I just want to be able to breathe better, or be able to pick up my kids or groceries pain free, or just do those activities that I really love. And Katera, one of the things we were chatting about in our prep is what I really love is to make this a continuum of for life. So if somebody has pain, okay, let's get you out of pain. Now let's keep progressing the body to doing things that you are important each day. It could be sitting comfortably at work for 8 hours a day, again, picking up the groceries, your grandchildren, then to those activities you love to do that are a little bit more athletic. So if it's dancing, if it's running, if it's going for a walk and you have to have a lot of balance. So that continuum of health in an ideal world, okay, it's not get somebody out of pain and that's it. Okay, but progress the body, structurally challenge the body, the way it's designed to move, the way that toddler moves, right? Squatting, lunging, swinging, strengthening from the body from the inside out, full range of motion. And that really is a continuum for long-term health and function.
Absolutely. And first of all, the story is incredible because these shifts really can be life changing, especially when it comes to chronic pain and, like you said, activities of daily living. So you mentioned that this particular client, and I think you have many that are like this, she's worked with you for 5 years. And it's one of the things I mentioned in the introduction that we have this long standing relationship now with Spark Your Health, and you have a lot of repeat returning individuals that work with you. And so I think some people may think, okay, posture, once I fix it, I'm fixed, right? Like I've done what I need to do. Now I'm going to go graduate to being in the gym. But really what we've talked about is that there's sort of this synergy between what you do and continuing walks and going to the gym. And so can you talk a little bit about sort of your strategy and if to somebody who might say, Joey, I'm going to do one session with me. You're going to fix me. I'm going to be good to go. Let's break that down a little bit.
No, for sure. So what I say to anybody, especially if somebody might not have the means to do long term, is okay, you have this going on with your body. When we meet once, we're going to do a full postural eval. I'm going to look at you standing. So see if somebody's here from the side there. I'm going to look at your different movement. I'm going to see how you're walking, and gait form predicts function. So if I see something in static posture, like here, each time you land, right? Going to create grinding on the inside, outside of the knee, compress into the hip, spine's going to tweak. So we're going to create a why as to what's going on, what muscles might be working more. And by muscles, I don't look at one muscle at a time. I look at connective tissue lines that pull the body either to the front, the back, the side, rotationally, and ideally all of those more superficial lines should be balanced by the deeper structural line. So what connective tissue lines might be pulling the bones out of the right position, creating your issues, or compressing the discs? How are the deeper postural muscles functioning? Are you strong? Are you weak? So let's understand the why behind your pain, your injuries, your issues, and then the what. What can you do the most natural way possible? Simply using your body's tools through position, through stretch, through exercise to reset that mechanism. So put the bones in the right place, engage the deeper connective tissue line to keep the body there, create the optimal strength and space for the body. And in one sequence, what you'll get is, hey, we're going to start to understand your body. I'm going to leave you with a sequence to begin repatterning. And even, I love this book. A lot of you, I'm sure, have read it, Atomic Habits. And the author, James Clear, gives an example of, I think it's the Belgium or one of the European cycling teams who went from being mediocre to winning the gold medal, I think it was 2008, by making 1% improvements. And those 1% improvements over time create those layers. And that's what I articulate to clients or the people in our group class. It's not, we're going to have these panaceas. I mean, often I will have that with clients, but very often it's, hey, let's create 1% improvement, layer on top of layer on top of layer. But in that initial sequence session, let's understand why, and then the what. And if you could give your body the tools to start rebalancing, there's so much value simply in understanding what can be going on. And then one other thing I really want to harp on, and I'm noticing with everybody I help, is even my own body. So often we'll have things going on. We're just going to do therapy on that specific issue area, but it's really that deeper functional strength, doing like squeezing and releasing yoga block in certain ways, strengthening the body from the inside out, especially as people get older, or if you're more of an elite athlete or performer, the body needs that functional strength that it loses through sitting, through compensating. And time again, if I just go after releasing compensation, it might help a little bit. It actually might leave this person somewhat weak. But if we could develop that functional strength from the inside out, I even had some insight with my own body this morning where I was really compensated and didn't have the time to do the longer passive exercise I usually do. So I was really just giving the body the functional strength, and I've been feeling so much better. And that's huge for even 90, 95-year-olds who I help be able to strengthen the body from the inside out, have the deeper connective tissue lines support the body, makes all the difference in the world, especially for balance, especially for breathing capacity, especially for just feeling and walking that much better. So just something I've been meaning to articulate more and more, which is so vital for your long-term function and health.
Absolutely. So I had another question lined up, but now you're going to make me pivot a tiny bit because I'm sure some are wondering, how important is the morning? Is that like, to me, I would sort of envision that might be the moment. It's kind of sort of like some people meditate in the morning to mentally
Yeah.
kind of get themselves into the right state of mind for the day. Tell us a little bit about, what you recommend for a morning routine. Is that sort of the time to get connected and aware to how your body is feeling and make corrections, or is it evening? Would love if you could walk us through that.
Okay, good question. The first thing that comes to mind to me is as long as you're able to get in at some point, it's really important. I'll share with you what I do. I'm a really bad sleeper, so people keep asking me like, what's a good sleeping position? I sleep on my back. I like a hard mattress, but just to fall asleep, I'm going to do whatever I need to fall asleep. And inherently, my body gets twisted out of alignment. So first thing I do in the morning, I'm going to model something, but only do this if you're able to comfortably and safely get onto and off of the floor. And I don't want your head flopping back. So a feeling from sleeping, I'm developing rotation in the body, misaligned. So first thing I do in the morning, I roll out of bed. I go onto the floor.
That looks great, Joey. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Pretend I have a 90-degree angle. So uh, I scoot my tush forward. I bring my legs to a 90-degree angle, allow my knees to flap out. If you do this and your head is forward, you can put a little pillow under your head, so you never want your head forward. Arms at my side, palms up. I inhale, stomach rises. Exhale, it goes down. Just let everything happen naturally.
Joey,
All
can
right.
you shift to your left just a tiny bit, just a little bit closer to the couch? Perfect.
Sure, of course. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so inhale, stomach rises. Exhale, it goes down. Palms up. And I sense it to my body, and namely 2 points, those bones on the top of the pelvis, those bones right above my tush. And I ask myself, hey, are both sides even in the floor? Or is one side pressing more into the floor than the other? And maybe my right side, maybe my left side, and I'll just note it. And then I'll go up to my shoulder blades. Hey, same thing. Both sides feeling evenly, is one side pressing differently, more? It might be the same side, pelvis and shoulder blade. It might be counter rotation. And now just for 5 minutes, not trying to manipulate anything, just through the breathing and from the position itself. One of the first principles of postural therapy is position is therapy. So when we're standing, gravity has a certain effect on the body. When we're on a hard surface, specifically in this position, the hard surface will start to balance the bones. So they'll align our body from the side, they'll take away rotation. As we align the body from the side, we're regaining that nice natural space for our joints, our discs, our organs. So I'll be there 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, I'll tune into those two spots, bones above my butt, shoulder blades, and just notice, hey, has anything changed? Not looking for perfection, but just looking for a little bit more balance. And then I'll do something like cat cow, we call them cats and dogs, just to kind of loosen up the spine. Maybe go to a child's pose, maybe stand, do like an overhead extension. So now I've just reset the position of the bones, allow the spine to move a little bit. And I find for me, that's a great start to the day to balance the body from the position it gets to sleeping. So again, always consult with your doctor or PT in terms of what you should and should not do. But as long as you're able to safely and comfortably get onto and off of the floor, something so simple, so easy. And what I find more and more, even with those elite athletes I train, and I work with everybody from people in their upper 90s to elite athletes, is so often going back to the basics. Position is therapy, balance the body, balance the bones, and then we could do all those fancy things, the 600 exercises we have in the database. But if the bones are in balance, we're just going to push into compensation. Here, balance the bones, maybe do like squeeze and release on the yoga block a certain way, like that. That's actually the most important thing you could do. And it's how I start my day and just movement. This morning, I decided not to work out, but I decided to go for a walk in Central Park, which is across the street from my apartment. And because I was doing some of this stuff, I would find a tree. I would do pull-ups on a tree. I would stop, do push-ups. I would do like step-ups and all that. So it's such a perfect start to the day and a beautiful spring day to just align the body, stabilize with the right muscles, go for a walk, be a little bit functional, and then just had a few amazing sessions with clients beforehand. And I love that question.
Well, and I love, Joey, that you're just to tap into something else for a moment, that you were following what your body was
Mm,
telling you to do today, right? You said like I didn't do my workout, so you probably do usually work out. And I know, with my own background in exercise physiology, that is something. And I was a Division I rower. I'm used to pushing hard, but over the years, I've really sort of developed this appreciation and just try to emphasize it to everyone that I can, that any kind of movement that you're going to do is a good movement. And I think listening to your body is really important. I think studies have been showing more and more that it's so much more important that you find joy in the way that you move rather than pushing yourself through a grinding workout. And there, of course, there are ways that it's good to sort of continue the progression of your exercises. But yeah, just being in tune with your
mm.
body and what it needs. I think that's such a just like a beautiful combination of what you do in postural therapy, having that awareness, and then bringing the mental aspect of what am I going to benefit from today, both mentally and physically.
I couldn't agree more. And often there's that dichotomy of, okay, doing things that we know are good for the body, but it's just boring. And what I'll say to my clients is, hey, initially some of the stuff is going to be a little bit more passive, but just let's think about the long-term goal. Let's get you out of pain. Let's get your body functioning to doing those things you love to do. And everybody I work with, the one thing I really try to articulate, hey, this is teamwork. You just give me the more feedback you could give me as you're doing this on your own. What feels good, what might be pushing into compensation, what you're enjoying, what might just be too slow, too boring. We're going to figure this out together. And it's self-reinforcing. The better you feel as a result, the more one's going to want to do it. Like I know for me, when I meditate, I just feel so much better, so much clearer. Even before I was working with a client, I was just feeling a little bit anxious, and I was trying to be a little bit more mindful and take a few deep breaths or fire the vagus nerve, so like yawn a little bit. And I felt so much better, and it's self-reinforcing, and then I want to do it more. And with these exercises as well, some of them are passive and they're slow, and we figure it out together. Okay, what does your body need? But also, what are you actually going to do? I have a lot of clients who, in an ideal world, I know what their body needs to get out of pain, to function, and be it just their personality or what have you. And I'm going to have to totally change things up to more active, athletic things a little bit sooner than I
Mhm.
normally would. And but with that being said, my goal for anybody who loves to move is don't cut it out. Do what you love to move. I remember when my first seminar I ever had with my teacher, I think it was back 2005, was okay, take an exercise you do in the gym, bicep curls, push-ups, whatever. Let's do a postural therapy exercise, maybe sitting up tall, squeeze and release on the block. Go back to that same exercise and now notice the difference in feeling. And it was so functional, so practical. Somebody I've worked with a couple of times, highly recognizable. Like everybody would recognize him, and he loves to work out. So we've had a few sessions privately, but also we've had a session with his trainer, who, when this guy's in New York, sees like 5 times a week. But same thing. Okay, what's a gym exercise you can do? What can we do in between? And bounce back and forth. And those exercises in between, okay, get your body, like if we're doing a lat pull down, right? If your body's misaligned, you're going to strain front of the shoulder, you're going to overwork your neck. But if we could do something to create this, now neck's going to relax, you're going to engage the right muscles in between the shoulder blades.
Yeah.
So for sure, I have a lot of clients who love to be active and like, hey, let's do that. And the progression is to doing exercises that are going to structurally strengthen your body, but stabilize with the right muscle. So even before I was doing like lunge in place or what have you, but I was cueing into like the deep inner groin muscles, allowing those bigger mover muscles to work. positions of hands behind my head, let's say somebody here is resetting shoulder, shoulder blade, engaging the right muscles between the shoulder blades, creating more space for the organs, the nice natural arch of the spine and your pelvis. So everything goes into one, where the exercises themselves are the therapy. And that's what I do with my own workouts.
I love it. And I definitely hear the quality versus the quantity in what you're talking about, especially, I love that sort of weaving the exercises into daily routine or in between sets at the gym, just to sort of, there is muscle memory. And the more that you're doing that and sort of training yourself to, oh, this is the way I'm supposed to stand to feel good and for the rest of my organs, then that's a positive. So I just want to remind everyone, because we're sneaking up on 40 minutes into the talk, that please do go ahead and submit any questions that you might have. I have plenty of questions, but I would love to hear from our audience as well. And I know that Joey would. So let's shift and get even a little bit more technical. So, and we like to do myth busting on Spark Your Health. So, similar to how sometimes when people are told, like, take a deep breath, and they sort of naturally squeeze their abs in and they lift up their shoulders, right, and become more tense, and that's not necessarily the goal, and then it's retrained. So I think that some folks out there may think about posture and may think about tightening the abdomen. And so I would love if you could break down a little bit about what's happening in the belly and in the low back when you're talking about ideal posture.
Okay, perfect. When I got into this field years and years ago, I would actually cue, or I was taught to cue, okay, keep your stomach tight the entire time. Uh, but let's all do this. So what I want you to do is slouch a little bit and tighten your stomach. It's actually probably even easier sitting. The slouch, tighten your stomach, and now try to roll on up nice and tall into, like, roll onto your sits bones with your stomach tight. Are you able to do that? And now totally relax your stomach and then roll on up. And you might feel it's much more natural, much more fluid doing it with your stomach relaxed. So your abdominal muscles, your rectus abdominis, the big one, attaches from the chest to the front of the pubis, and it creates this. And does that look like good posture? And does that create natural space for your stomach and other organs? So the way I've been trained to view the body and the way I help people is those muscles even deeper than the stomach, inner thigh, groin, front of the spine, not even below the stomach. Those are what I look at or have been trained to view as like the core. And we want to strengthen those. And then once those muscles, which create natural extension, support the front of the spine, the back of the spine, go all the way up and down the body. If you can strengthen those, now absolutely, let's do ab stuff around it. And even the way I do ab crunches, both therapeutically and a workout, I'll just show you real quickly, is once we stabilize with those right muscles, hands behind head, elbows wide, I'm not bringing my elbows forward. I'm not pulling my chin forward, but I'm keeping my elbows back and bringing my chin straight up. So we're using this therapeutically, reset shoulder, shoulder blade, deeper postural muscles have to stabilize. And you could do this in so many different ways. I mean, this is basic. You can work the abs. I mean, the ways of doing it this way, you could add rotation to it. But each one is a layer where we're going to strengthen the stomach, but around a stable base. And so often with that cue of, okay, let's abs, 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 what I found with a lot of people I help, even elderly people, if their body's here, their abs are chronically tight. Just from the position itself, we need to release this, allow this to happen, stabilize with those deeper postural muscles, and then re-engage the abs in a much more functional way, which the exercises themselves, be it abdominal contractions or doing crunches a certain way, will reinforce posture, but also long-term health. So many people with back issues, shoulder issues, or what have you, as long as they can, I'm going to get them the crunches really quickly to strengthen their abs, but in a functional manner around a solid base, putting the bones in the right position, challenging those deeper postural muscles to stabilize the bigger ones to keep the body there subconsciously.
Amazing. And I just want everyone to know Joey's really just scratching the surface here. We only have 60 minutes, but I know that there's so much more than this. So that I do hope that everyone will consider, tuning in with you for your classes, because, we're getting as much as we can in this talk. So we have a great question that came in. I'm going to ask one last question from our end from Spark Your Health, and then we'll shift to the audience. So do you have any go-to exercises? I know you showed sort of your wake up routine, morning routine, but anything that you could leave our audience with. We're all about practical tips and what can we do today. So do you have like one or two go-to exercises that you feel like you love people to take away, that can sort of start them on this journey of improved posture?
Okay, perfect. For sure. Something as simple as, well, let me grab my yoga block.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We like
again, that was perfect. So I was saying we want to strengthen their body from the inside out. And it could be in the position I showed you on the floor, or even sitting. So sitting, think about 90-degree angle,
Yep. Thank you.
ankle bone, middle of the knee, the hip. You can just rolling up nice and tall onto those sits bones. Zero strain, your stomach is relaxed, your lower back is relaxed, be nice and tall. Now place the yoga block, or you could use a pillow or even your fist, in between your knees. I like to do it the medium width, so if there's riding, the riding will be facing you. Inhale, squeeze, exhale, release, just moderate effort. What's going to want to happen is the pelvis is going to want to roll back. Maintain the tall sitting position. Do about 20 of them, and you can notice, okay, do both sides feel like they're squeezing evenly, or is one side squeezing stronger or sooner than the other? And also notice where on each leg is the muscle engagement. So you might feel the outside of the thigh, the top of the thigh, the inner groin. So do 20. What I like to do in between is just like modified sitting cats and dogs. So just the pelvis rocking back and forth, zero muscle effort. Reset. Now do a second set. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, release. Notice set 1, set 2, set 3. Okay, are you starting to squeeze any differently? If one side was engaging sooner or stronger than the other, is that beginning to even out? If where you're feeling the muscle engagement is starting to move. So often, as I've mentioned, we're overusing the more superficial muscles. And with an exercise like the knee pillow squeezes, you might initially feel it outside of the thigh, top of the thigh, your lower back, even your glutes. So notice set 1, set 2, set 3 doesn't start to move at all. Maybe moves to the top of the thigh, then inner thigh. So inner thigh, inner groin. That's showing that those deeper postural muscles are creating that scaffold for the body, strengthening it from the inside out, creating the space between the joints and the disc. And that's what we want. However, something like this, if your body's really locked in a certain position, can actually push compensation into the body. So that's where the individual life stuff comes into play. We really have to understand what's going on with your individualized body. But as long as it feels okay, give that a shot. Go like 10 gentle, modified cat-cow, cats and dogs, squeeze, release, 3 times back and forth. Just squeeze and release 20 times. Do that a couple of times throughout the day. For people who are sitting at work all day, that's exactly what I articulate. But even for the 8-week program that we do online through Spark Your Health, just a couple of days ago, I took us through a routine to prep our body to sit comfortably, naturally, optimally as possible. But the whole thing was, okay, let's, in standing, reset position of the bones, align the spine, engage your right muscles. Now we're getting our body out of this posture, which you can't sit up tall. Body's not going to be able to, but if we could reset the spine, the body, engage the right muscles, now we're here. Now we could do exercises that will reinforce sitting, even like going to like stand-up squats a certain way. And that's kind of the progression with things. But in terms of one thing, squeeze and release, again, sit up as comfortably, as naturally as possible. if you're pushing into any compensation, creating lower back tension, don't sit up as tall. Let's see how that feels to you.
Fantastic. Well, I hope everyone takes that away with them and we'll practice that. So let's jump into the audience questions. So this is a two-parter, so I'll give you the first, which is what role does foot health and weight distribution have on overall alignment? And do you have any suggestion for footwear?
Sure. In terms of footwear, as natural as possible. So some sneakers, some shoes that manipulate how the foot hits the floor, and you might need it if you're dealing with issues, and speak to your podiatrist about that. But I don't wear those Vibram that I used to. But the less manipulation of the foot, I know like Vivo Barefoot, VIVO, is a company that's really good. There's a Saucony model that I've been wearing the past couple of years that the more updated version of that I feel isn't as good. It manipulates. So I keep just trying to find this older version. But the more natural the alignment, especially with foot, the better. In terms of weight distribution on your feet and things going on with your feet, just like the example of the person who twisted the ankle and shifting the body weight over, if certain things are going on with your foot, your body's going to subconsciously compensate, and it might create push strain up that same side, might push strain to the opposite side. So for sure, we want ideally to give the body its own internal stimulus, and the deeper postural connective tissue line creates a nice natural arch to support the arch of the foot. That's what we want. Let's figure out what can we do based upon any current issues going on with your body to reset that. Hopefully it'll balance your body left to right, but also repattern how the foot hits the floor. I was just doing a program earlier on today, and the big focus was, okay, let's give our body certain exercises, even some of them upper body. Walk. Let's do this exercise. Walk again. Notice we're off of the foot you're pushing off of, and that is huge, because if you're walking off the outside of the foot, or the foot is compensating, it absolutely will go up the body, create long-term issues, and we need to be able to repattern that way.
Yes, and like you've been saying from the beginning, just building that awareness of, ooh, I don't think that this feels right. Let me sort of reset. So thank you for that. And then we had a question on what cues do you give your clients to focus on where they are putting their weight when walking and standing? Do you have any specific cues that you provide?
Not so much specific cues. I mean, I definitely like the one like a string pulling you top of your head to the ceiling. But the longer I work with people, what I have them sense into is, okay, notice which exercises you have in your personalized sequence or in the group class stuff helps you reset. So if somebody says, I feel like I'm walking off the outside of the foot, I'm like, okay, why don't we try sort of scapular retractions or elbow flexes or any of the ones that you've gotten used to doing. Notice which ones right then and there make a difference. Like I have a lot of clients who have to go for a long walk to work, to houses of worship or what have you. I'm like, okay, let's really in our session together, notice which ones really quickly make that difference. And then you're walking, you don't feel good, pause. Do that exercise. The other day, I went for a much longer run than I normally do. My dad has a house in Westchester, so the Rockefeller Nature Preserve. It's New York State Park.
Gorgeous
Gorgeous.
there. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy you've enjoyed it as well. And all of a sudden, again, I was going for a much longer run than I usually do, just because it was so nice and I was really far away from my dad's place. I started developing an injury on the outside of my knee that I had a long time ago. And I knew intuitively, I just needed to find a big rock, just do this to be able to promote more natural hip flexion. There was absolutely nowhere to do it. It was like 15 minutes downhill. This was killing me. But when I finally was able to, finally did this each side, allowed me to run through here as opposed to overusing here. I was able to go a little further. Found another rock, did it again. saved me, and I had to do some more passive stuff the next couple of days. But just sensing into one's bodies, and we were talking about at the beginning, Katira, okay, what can you do? Just close your eyes, breathe, sense into your body, do an exercise, do that again. Notice if any change, exercise to exercise, and be it one-on-one or in our group program, I'm constantly having people do an exercise, walk around. My whole thing is ingrained through feel. I want you to feel the effects of each exercise and notice what it's doing to your body. And the more you can understand that, now you're going to have the tools to help yourself long term. Not, okay, I want you to feel good, but okay, what can you take away on a very individualized level? Know what you can do both in the moment and long term as well.
Yes. Well, thank you. We're about to wind down here. And we had a thank you for reminding us incremental becomes exponential towards whole body health. Absolutely. I think that was a great takeaway from this, that even that 1% effort and that 1% change can make a big impact. I don't want to end without just us saying a little bit about balance, right? Because balance, we know, is tied to longevity, the old, how long can you stand on one foot? So as we wrap up, just tell us a little bit about the connection between balance, posture, alignment, and you can kind of make a pitch for how they're entangled, and how what you do can support someone and can honestly be life-saving in some situations, having a good balance and a good sort of proprioceptive foundation.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in Riverside Park and reading this Adam Grant book, Give and Take, which is great. And all of a sudden, somebody comes to me, says hi. And it's like, I read that book. And he's trying to remember a few things from the book. And the guy's daughter, and this guy was like in his 70s, goes, this guy writes books. So I go, what's your name? It's somebody very recognizable who I respect a lot. We started having a conversation, and he gave me this information, and I was watching him walk away, and he was like walking very wobbly and all that. And I reached out. We had a mutual connection as well, and we ended up having a session the other day against somebody who I respected just by reading his stuff personally. But he was complaining about his balance and how, as he's aging, he had a friend, also somebody who everybody would know, who fell, had a big injury, and that's a big concern. I'm like, hey, the more we can understand what's going on in your body, create a lift, reset the position of your bones, engage your deeper postural muscles. That's where balance comes into play. So gait, you should have natural hip flexion and hip extension. And so many people, as we age, or especially with Parkinson's, don't have that hip flexion. So they're here. And with here, you're getting much less balance, like tip forward and what have you. As we can align the body, stabilize, now we're allowing the body to open up much more naturally. That's where real balance comes into play. It's not, hey, let me stand on the Bosu ball right off the bat and do this. But yeah, reset position of the bones, stabilize with the right muscles, then progressively challenge the body structurally more and more. And so many elderly individuals who I help exactly are focused. Hey, let's give the body the balance, but do it in the natural way. And then if you want to do the fun, fancy stuff, sure, balance on the Bosu ball, but let's get that framework. Because if not, you're going to try to balance, you're going to push into compensation, which is actually going to create more imbalance in the body as well.
Right.
So,
Just providing that functional foundation so that if they do get caught off balance, they can literally support themselves, and their body will inherently do that because you have taught them how. So,
or their own bodies ingrained the how. And I've had a lot of people who've come to me to be like, Joey, I lost balance. I was able to catch myself where I normally would not have been able to. Normally I would have fallen on my face, and boy, thank God we've been doing this. So that's where like the real reward comes into play as well. Just knowing the direct quality of life and protecting somebody really, and yeah, makes such a difference.
Absolutely. Well, Joey, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this special Spark Your Health talk with us, to deliver all of your amazing ideas and concepts that you bring to folks in our programming, just to bring it into a talk setting. I think is just, we're very appreciative for the work that you do. And I think we really appreciate that you work with individuals that span, like you said, different ages, different backgrounds. I think everyone can benefit from learning their body and learning their postural alignments or misalignments, and working on those unique features that will help them thrive. So thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon, and we'll see you back soon for your postural alignment class.
Absolutely. Now, I just wanted to say such a sincere thank you to you, Katera. You've been amazing. 90 seconds through life at Spark Your Health. I've been privileged to interact with you guys and had so much fun on this talk. So thank you so much.